introduce our lineup for today. I have to tell you that one of my dear friends, Stephanie Winard, is a professor. She's a psychology professor at Pierce College. She's been a vegan for how long? How many years?
11 years. 11 years?
And if you take her general psychology class, when she gets to the health education chapter in the general psychology book, you're going to learn about veganism. Because being vegan is probably the best way to ensure a healthy life, adopting a vegan lifestyle. So she gets it in any way she can. And I want to introduce somebody else, Brian Jacobs. He's another teacher with LA Unified, and he does something very similar, but in a high school forum. And Brian's been vegetarian for how many years? 6. And vegan for how long?
6.
And how did you go vegan? It's all my fault. It's all my fault. And Brian, you teach at?
I teach at Lawrence Middle School and Trade Tech.
Okay, and Trade Tech downtown. So not that far from here. Lawrence Middle School is a public school. It's a public school magnet. It's not that far away. Okay, so what happened was, unfortunately, Stephanie's father had an accident. She was supposed to be, and he's okay, he's doing okay, but she was supposed to be interviewed by Gianna. Raise your hand. Gianna is in 8th grade, and she was doing an 8th grade project, and she wanted to talk, and I'm not going to tell her story, she's going to tell you the story, but she wanted to interview Stephanie, because Stephanie's been vegan for so long. But Stephanie couldn't be interviewed that day because she was dealing with her father, who was in the hospital for a while, but now he's doing much better. So what happened was Stephanie called me and said, would you let Gianna interview you? And I said, sure. So we made arrangements. I went over to her house. This is Gianna's mom, Anna. So they invited me over and they interviewed me. And I was so blown away by the quality of the interview that I said, I'm going to call my friend Sean Munson. He makes documentaries for a living. In fact, if you've seen Earthlings, that's Sean's documentary. Earthlings, it's available at earthlings.com. It was made about 10 years ago, I think, and it was responsible. It's all about the animal agriculture industry, and it's responsible for turning a lot of people vegan when they learn about what really happens in factory farms. So I called up Sean and said, I have an 8th grader who's doing a project, and she's pretty phenomenal. She'd love to interview. Can you make some time for her? And he's world-renowned director, producer, writer, videographer, and he said yes. So Gianna interviewed him, and she made a documentary, and we're both in it. Then she showed it in her school, and I think you got everybody who came, all the 8th grade, because they had 8th grade project night, and it filled the auditorium, and all of the parents and all the kids got to hear about what Gianna does. So it was really phenomenal. They showed that. So if that's not enough, we have Genesis. Raise your hand, Genesis. And her mom, Janelle. And Genesis, I'm not going to tell you the story, but I mentioned before about TED Talks. TED Talks are these amazing lectures. It's very difficult to be able to offer a TED Talk, to be able to give a TED Talk. And at the age of 10, Genesis is the youngest TED Talk speaker ever. And this was not a kids event. This was an adult event. So I want to introduce everybody to Gianna Klein. Gianna is 13, and when are you going to be 14? In December. And she's graduating from middle school now. She's going to go off to high school. And Genesis is 10.
Yeah.
And when are you going to be 11?
I'm going to be 11 November the 14th.
This is working out? Okay. So we have, I affectionately call them, borrowing the term from my friend Simone Reyes, who's a very well-known animal rights activist. She calls all of us who understand what's going on with animals, what's going on with food, what's going on with the environment, those of us who've made this decision to be 100% vegan in our lifestyle, in what we eat and what we wear, everything that we do. Simone calls all of us aliens from the future, because we deal with a population that thinks we're crazy. When we believe we have some insight as to what's going on with our environment, with our healthcare crisis, and certainly with the animals. So these two young ladies figured it out. Let me start with Genesis. Tell everybody, what was the first thing that happened? You love chicken nuggets, and you ate chicken nuggets a lot. So what happened? Tell everybody, and you can look at them.
So, when I was 3 years old, I was sitting at the table, and I started to wonder about where my chicken nuggets came from. So I asked my mom, I said, Mom, where do my chicken nuggets come from? She told me from the grocery store, because she didn't want to tell me where they actually came from. She said from the grocery store. But I knew they came from the grocery store, so I felt that they had to come from somewhere else. So I asked my mom again, I said, where do my chicken nuggets really come from? And then she told me that we killed animals for them, and I just never could eat them ever again. And then she kept feeding them to me, and I wouldn't eat them, and I kept pushing it away. And then after we finally went vegetarian, and then I was 6, and I asked my mom where we got our milk from, and then she told me that we got it from mama cows, and she was nursing my little sister Zion at that time. And I said, so that's like someone taking your milk just to give the human instead of my baby sister. And then she said, that's exactly how it is, and my whole family went vegan.
So let's hear from Janelle, because I'm sure you're wondering, were you vegan at the time or vegetarian?
No, and I thought, not to offend anybody vegan here, well, I'm vegan myself, but I thought you guys were all crazy. When she first told me she wanted to go vegan, I said, well, not eating animals at first, because I'm Mexican and Native American, and, people, meat's a big part. I thought it was a big part of my culture. And I thought I had to eat carne asada for every meal, and all the bacon and the meat, and my husband's African American, and so meat is heavily ingrained in his culture too. And when she told us, we both looked at each other. I told him, I'm not giving up carne asada, and he was like, well, I'm not giving up my food. And then but I kind of felt guilty, because even though she was 3, she was barely gonna turn 4. I figured she must know something, because she's always been one of those children that I knew from the get-go that's an old soul. So I told my husband, you know what, I keep giving it to her and she's not eating it. She kept pushing it away, and I thought, wow, I thought she loved nuggets. So I told my husband, you know what, I'm going to stop eating animals, because I feel really guilty knowing that she doesn't want to eat it. And I did some research, and I just saw a video of, the factory farming, and I was devastated. I said, wow, she knows what she's talking about. So I got my husband to go vegetarian because she wanted to. And then with the nursing, I never made the connection. I have 4 kids, and I've nursed them all till they were over 2 years old.
And where's Genesis in the birth order?
She's the oldest. So, yeah, and then I was nursing my 3rd child, and I never made the connection where the milk, for the moms that were taking it from the mama cows. So when she asked me when I was nursing, I literally was bawling. I was crying my eyes out, because I was looking at my child thinking, how can I do this to another female? And if she didn't help me make the connection at that moment, I would have probably delayed being vegan, because I was like, oh, I can't live without cheese, But she's so intuitive and so smart that she asked me at the perfect moment. So I told her, if we go vegan, that means no mac and cheese, no pizza, because I didn't know there was vegan alternatives. And she said, if that means mama cows can keep their babies with them and keep their milk, then I don't care. I don't need any of that. So
I'm wondering what it was like for you with your friends, with your community, with your relatives, with your people that you work with. What kind of pushback did you get from them if you told them about what your daughter's decision was?
I think in the beginning they all thought it was some fad, or a phase that I'm going through and that she was going through. So a lot of people, friends that that are friends with me, they would even say, why are you listening to a 5-year-old? And they have children themselves, and I'm an educator and I work with young children. So I said, they teach us more than we can teach them. We just have to listen to them. So once I put it in that perspective, the adults really warmed up to it. And then I tell them too, I've done a lot of research, and besides the animals being killed, by my children being vegan, I'm giving them at least a 60 to 80% chance of going through life without a major disease. And so they kind of feel guilty after I put it that way. Like, they're thinking, like, what am I putting in my children's body when I put it like that? So they've warmed up, and now that it's been 4 years since we've been vegan, they know it's definitely not a trend, and they see us, Genesis out there all the time, and myself talking about veganism. And so With Genesis alone, just with her story, myself telling my friends, there's probably been at least 20 people that we know have went vegan because of her story that I know personally.
So now I'd like Gianna to tell her story, and let's have Anna come up as well and stay up here as well. Let's just move down a bit. And let's have Gianna go first. Go ahead.
Okay, so when I was 6 years old, I was sitting at my dining room and I was biting into a Subway turkey sandwich, and I thought to myself, what if I was biting into the actual animal? So I kept this whole concept in mind, and I sat my mom down and I told her, Mama, I want to be a vegetarian. She responded with a confused, okay, if you want to, you can, but she and literally my entire family thought it was a phase, and it wasn't. So I was a vegetarian, and like she said, I didn't make the connection between milk and meat and how it was still affecting animals just as much. And so I was a vegetarian until about 8 months ago, actually at the start of when I created my documentary, is when I made the connection and when I decided to stop eating dairy and eggs as well. So it was a big process, but like she says, everyone thought it was a phase, but it wasn't. It's an awesome decision that I made, so.
So Anna, tell everybody what it was like for you as a mom. What did it feel like when your daughter told you this, and what kind of pushback did you get from your husband and your family and your friends?
Well, I do remember exactly that day when she sat me down, and I literally thought, it'll in a month she'll be over that. But what made me believe that it wasn't a phase is that she went to have dinner that night with my husband and my son. I didn't go, but I heard this story, and she told my husband ordered chicken nuggets for her, and Gianna said, I'm not eating them. And my husband said, yes, you are. I've already paid for them. You're eating them. And Gianna, her little 6-year-old self, stood up to my husband, who's a little intimidating sometimes, and she said, I'm not eating them, Daddy. I am not eating them. And she did not eat them, and she won that battle. So my husband came back home, we talked about it, and we're like, okay, let's honor her wish. And I love animals, so I have a lot of compassion for them. So I knew I was being a bit of a hypocrite by not doing it myself. So it took me a while to get to the point where I'm like, I can't do this anymore. I'm seeing what she's doing for the love of animals, and I'm pretending that it's okay for me to eat it. So I became a vegetarian about, I don't know, not that long ago, maybe 9 months ago. And I'm on my path to being a vegan. I still crave cheese and a few things like that, but I'm on my path.
Well, Jean Bauer, who's going to be in the Vegespirations Head later this afternoon from Farm Sanctuary, the philosophy of the Farm Sanctuary people is to see people where they are, to meet them where they are without any criticism, and just to help them, enable them to take the next step. And I hope everybody, this is just an aside, we're not ending this now, but I hope everybody will be able to come over to the Vegespirations tent at 3 o'clock and to hear Dr. Neil Barnard talk about The Cheese Trap, which is his new book. Dr. Neil Barnard is the president of the Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine, and that organization is the one that sponsors the Learning Kitchen every year. They did last year, they did this year. And you may have heard about us in the news recently because we filed a lawsuit against, you can't hear me, is that better? Yeah. Okay. We filed a lawsuit against the Los Angeles Unified School District and the Poway Unified School District because according to an offshoot of the United Nations, which is the World Health Organization, about a year ago they came out with a finding that processed meat is a group 1 carcinogen. Other group 1 carcinogens are tobacco and asbestos and plutonium. And now we can add processed meat, and that would include pepperoni, hot dogs, deli meat, bologna. All those processed meats that are cured with nitrates are group 1 carcinogens. Why would we give this to our children? Why? Maybe we should give them a pack of cigarettes with their bologna sandwich. That might make sense. At least you're being consistent. Obviously, I'm joking. But it's incredible. So we filed, Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine filed a lawsuit against these two school districts with the hope that they will prohibit the serving of these class 1 carcinogen meats, group 1 carcinogen meats, to children. And if it happens in these two school districts, it is just a very small step to make it happen throughout the United States and then maybe throughout the world. So it's pretty extraordinary, and you will all have a chance to listen to the man behind that at 3 p.m. in the Vegetation tent. So I wanted to certainly give him a plug because you talked about cheese, and he's going to be talking about his new book, The Cheese Trap, which is why it's so difficult to give up dairy products. And I'm not going to tell you why, because then I would be lecturing. I'm supposed to just be the moderator here. So we're gonna go up and we're gonna make macaroni and cheese, because who doesn't love macaroni and cheese? And it's so interesting because people think you have to give up. What are your favorite foods to eat?
My favorite foods are mac and cheese, chicken nuggets, pizza, burgers, a lot of things.
And those are all the vegan versions.
Yeah.
And you talk about that. You say you eat all that stuff, but you have the vegan version. And what happens with your friends? What's it like with your friends at school? Because you're different than they are. You make different choices. Most kids are interested in pizza and hot dogs and burgers.
Well, the only problem that I have had was when I was in 2nd grade, and there's this boy, and he sat next to me, and I was eating a salad and had avocado and stuff in it, and then he looked at me and he was like, "Ew, why are you eating that?" And he was like, "That's so disgusting," and he was just keep telling me how nasty it looked and everything like that. And then he was eating pancakes and bacon, and I said, "Well, you know what's really nasty?" He said, "What?" And then I said, "You're eating a pig's butt," and then he left me alone.
That's right. And Gianna, tell us about what it's like for you to be vegan in a sea of kids that aren't vegan.
It's a lot harder, like at school, for example, to share food. So when I want snacks from friends, like if I didn't bring enough myself, it's a lot harder to find things, but there are still things that they bring that I can eat, and it's really a matter of finding really good alternatives, which I have done. So like I love cream cheese, I love all of those things, and it's so easy now to find alternatives to it. So I will bring a lot of that to school, and it's easy to enjoy the same things. And so the only problem is sharing, but it's not that big of a deal. So.
Well, I just think it's extraordinary for two such young souls. I mean, I don't know that they're people, but they're just, I think they've been here before, because they know, they understand, they get what it means to bite into an animal, and there's no way you'd ever do that again. So these are our leaders for the future. All right, let's go make some mac and cheese. Okay, so I'm gonna guide you through this. So let's have right over here. Yeah, I'm gonna have you over here. We're gonna make mac and cheese. All right, so we've got a Vitamix blender. You can do this in any blender. It doesn't have to be high power. I don't have a stand. They're gonna do it. I'm gonna coach them through it. So what we're gonna do is start out with a Vitamix blender. Thank you so much. Come on up and.
Yeah, stencils. Stencils side.
Okay, and we've got butternut squash. So let's put some butternut squash into the blender. About a third of it. And what you're going to do is take about a cup of cashews. So these are raw cashews, raw, unsalted cashews. If you use the roasted ones, it'll give a very different flavor. We just want to have a creamy sauce. That was good. Okay. Let's do a cup of milk.
What kind of milk?
Oh, what kind of milk? Absolutely. Okay, show everybody what kind of milk. This is from Trader Joe's. It's the West Soy organic soy milk. And Gianna, can you read the ingredients?
Filtered water and whole organic soybeans.
Anything else in there?
Nope.
Very clean milk, no carrageenan, nothing terrible. Okay, you put that in there. All right, now we need to, here, Gianna, can you cut the lemon?
Sure.
In half? Yeah, and then squeeze it into here so we don't get any seeds. Go ahead, you want to squeeze? Here's a spoon. This is such, so we cooked the butternut squash. We actually bought it. It was already cubed and skinned. They sell it at Trader Joe's. Or you could actually buy a butternut squash and you can bake it and then take the skin off and take the seeds out. So do you want to show everybody what the butternut squash looks like? Just no, like this. Like this. Like that. You can show it to the camera. So it's just cubed butternut squash that's been steamed until it's fork tender. Let's do one, we'll taste it, we'll see. Let's move this over here. Okay, and let's put this on the Vitamix. Isn't this cool? We can cook in the park because they brought us powder. And now when we cook with the Vitamix, I'm just going to demonstrate this. You want to start out when it's low. Want to punch it?
With the microphone.
A little more milk. So let's put in another half a cup of milk. Can we do that? I kind of eyeball this. If I'm making one package, I know exactly how much to make, but we're making 5 packages today, so we'll have samples. You guys like samples? And we get ready for the samples. It's good. Now we're going to, it's good. I turn it off. The expert. There we go. Okay, so if you don't have a high power blender, then you'd have to soak your cashews in order for it to turn to cream. But if you have a high power blender, you can just throw it right in the Vitamix and it works beautifully. All right, now we're going to put in some nutritional yeast. And that's going to give it the cheesy flavor. And let's use about half of it. So can you figure out what half of it is? You can pour it into here if you want. No, half of what's in here. Let's see. Thank you. And it's going to get a little bit of soy sauce. Smoked paprika to give it a little smoky taste. All right, put it in. And if we want it cheesier, we'll just add more. Okay. We're putting the macaroni and cheese, the macaroni into the big bowl, and then we're gonna pour all of this on top of it, mix it up, and serve it. Okay, let's get our volunteers to help get it served. We've got little. Everybody gets a little cup. Want to come over here? Tray. Those are trays over there. Let's put it on the tray and then take the tray out. Right. Here's the tray. Perfect. Not too much. Yeah. Pour. Teamwork.
Ooh, that looks good.
Pour it to the camera. So the camera can see it. All right, then you can use that spoon to squish it out. Is anybody allergic to nuts? If you have a nut allergy, this has cashews in it, so I just want to make sure everybody knows. And this is regular pasta, it's not gluten-free pasta. But you can do the same thing with gluten-free pasta.
Whose recipe is this?
Pardon?
Whose recipe?
Actually, this recipe is I'm glad you asked that question. This recipe is an adaptation of Juliana Hever, the plant-based dietitian's smoky, cheesy pasta that she has in her vegetarian diet cookbook. The Vegetarian Diet by the plant-based dietitian Juliana Hever. And if you need more pasta, if there's more sauce than pasta, you do another. And then we're going to do another one. I need something. No, we're just going to do the next one. Right now. Okay, that's good. Pass that off. Okay, let's give it to Stephanie right over here. Let's put that right over here. Put it right over here. All right, we're going to do this again. We'll do this again. All right, let's get the butternut squash into here. Sure. You can walk around. And once you get this tray going, we'll have another tray. Perfect. Thank you. You're doing such a great job. Not only are they activists and very insightful, but they're pretty good in the kitchen too, don't you think? Let's try to do so we only have 3. We'll do one more after this. Okay, that's good. And now a cup of cashews. Give us that. It's all very thin. We can do the nutritional yeast. Sure.
Should I just put the rest of this here?
How much was it? And then measure out the milk. I think we need a cup and a half. A cup and a half. We used about a cup and a half the first time. Okay.
Let's go ahead and take pictures. Your paparazzi.
A little bit of soy sauce. And we need the lemon. Do you want to squeeze the lemon into that? We don't want to put the seeds in, so be careful when you squeeze it, you don't want to see it. Okay.